word says, for you, Lord, are good, and you are ready to forgive, and you're abundant in mercy to all those who call upon you. He is good. Amen.
Amen.
No matter what your day's been like, you can always say, he is so, so good, and he loves you so very much. So y'all, if you want to stand, we encourage you to stand. If you don't feel like standing, that's totally fine. However the Lord leads you, you know this one, God, you're so good. If we'd have known Pete was coming, we'd have had him up here. This is usually what he sings. But anyway, y'all just join us and sing. Sing out to him. You're not singing to us, and you're not singing to anybody around you. You're just singing to the Lord, and he loves to hear you. Amazing love that welcomes me, the kindness and mercy that bought with blood. 'cause you are my sustaining love. I live to worship you. Y'all be seated. Thank you.
We would like to introduce the speaker tonight. This is our son, Sean. Sean, the word that comes to my mind is kind, because people are nice because of an emotion. If you're in a bad mood, you don't want to be nice, but Sean is kind. He is a person that truly cares about people, no matter what mood he's in, no matter what day he's had. And so the Lord has just worked so much in his life and has powerfully moved in him and our family and everyone's life. Everyone that he comes in contact to changes. So we just want to introduce him, and y'all just give him, a lot of love, and because I know we're all nervous. I'm nervous for him. So Sean, come on up here.
I'm 21 years old. Well, For those of y'all who don't know me, my name is Sean. I'm 21 years old, and I am a recovered drug addict. And the reason I say recovered is because I have been washed in the blood of my mighty Savior. So I just want to start off by saying that I have a lot to be thankful for, because where I have been does not compare to where I am now. Growing up, it was pretty easy, honestly. I had a loving family. We went to church twice a week. I was actually pretty deep into it. There's this thing called Awanas at New Beginnings, and it's for the kids, and I graduated it with everything. I memorized every verse, and I was truly living for the Lord at age 6, 7, 8 years old. But unfortunately, at age 11 or 12, I can't remember, my parents ended up getting a divorce, and it really did not sit well with me. I didn't want that to happen. I don't think any kid wants it to happen, but it hurt me pretty bad, and I decided not to look to God for my comfort. I decided to look to other things, and thus I was introduced to marijuana. And I wasn't a very popular kid. I wasn't very liked by people. I was 4'3" till I was like 14. I was short with buck teeth and a gaming nerd, so no one really wanted anything to do with me at school. But when I started smoking weed, then everybody started liking me, and I was cool. I was all right. So I that's where it all started. At age 12, 13 years old, the most important time in a young man's life, mentally and physically growing, putting substances into your body does not help. It does not help your growth mentally or physically, and definitely not spiritually. So from then on, it just grew, because for those of y'all who don't know, what drugs do to you is there's this reactor in your brain called your dopamine sensor, and what it does is whenever you do something you enjoy, like ride a roller coaster, eat ice cream, watch a movie you like, it releases dopamine throughout your body, and you get a good feeling of euphoria. When you use drugs, it releases all the dopamine that is stored up, and it's the best feeling you've ever had, that's what your body thinks. And so you keep craving it, because you can never get that same feeling from anything else. And that's why drug addiction is so consuming, because people always want to chase that high. They want to chase what made them feel that way. And that's happened to me. Weed started not do it for me, so I switched to pills and alcohol, partying. I was 14 as a freshman in high school, going to senior parties, getting wasted and popping pills. Not good. Blacking out, not remembering where I've been, what I've done, lying to my parents. It was around this age I started stealing too. I was a bad thief, because being 14, you can't work and you got to support your addiction somehow. So I started stealing money from my mom, who was saving it up for our Christmas presents. Kind of messed up, right? But and the older I got, the worse it got. The more things I started to crave, and the more things I started to really let consume my life. And the further I got into drugs, the further away from God that I got. From being 6, 7 years old and worshiping the Lord with my hands raised, to being 14 years old and refusing to go to church because I didn't believe in God. As a sophomore in high school, I was introduced to psychedelics and other things that are like that nature, like party drugs. And they really just messed with my whole perception of life. They messed with my perception of everything, my family, what life meant, even my political views. You know, they just messed with everything. They tore my life up mentally. And then when I became a senior, and all of this went together. I didn't stop doing one thing and switch to the other. It was all just a collaborative. I would start using one thing and then go to the next thing, and it would combine, and then it would combine, and everything would just start being used at the same time. As a senior in high school, I started using cocaine because that's what my friends were into, and that's what I got into. We'd go to parties and start using, and yeah, rich man's drug. Yeah, I was not rich. I think around that time, as a senior in high school, or as soon as I graduated, I was right at the age where I was able to go to pawn shops and pawn things. So that's what I did. I would take stuff out of my mom's garage, and I would pawn it. $20 here, $20 there, $30 here, $40 here, you know, and I would do whatever I could to get that high. I would do anything in my power. And that was just for cocaine, you know. A couple months later, I got hooked on this thing that was street named cream, and I didn't know what that meant. I thought it was just cocaine, you know. Well, 4 or 5 months later, I come to find out I've been snorting crystal meth for 5 or 6 months. And at that time, you know, 'cause as a kid, no one thinks to himself, man, when I grow up, I want to be a meth head, you know. That just seems like the life for me. And after 5 or 6 months of doing it without knowing what it was, I was already like, okay, I like this. I'm going to keep doing this. And that's where things got really, really rough for me. Really rough. Because I had a job. I was the assistant manager at McDonald's, and I was making pretty good money for being an 18-year-old kid, but I never saved any of it. I didn't even have a bank account. At McDonald's, they had checks written out of Austin Bank, and the only place you could take the checks and just go get them cashed. So what I would do is take my McDonald's check every Friday, and I'd go get it cashed. And I would just have cash in my wallet, and it would be gone in like 24 hours. All of it gone. And then I guess my mom started catching on to what I was doing, and we started arguing, getting into fights and bickering and things like that. And I didn't want to be there anymore, so I decided to move out. And I moved in with a guy that I met, and it was a bad relationship for me. It was bad. Because his main focus and his main goal in life was to get high, just like mine, but his was on a whole nother level. He was a 45, 47-year-old man, you know. He'd been doing this for 20 plus years. I was 6 months into it, you know. So we were at 2 different levels. And he drugged me deeper into addiction, way deeper than I ever wanted to go. It was at this point I wasn't stealing from my family, who would be like, oh, something went missing, you know, I just misplaced it. Now, we would go to people's houses, and me being so small and skinny, I could climb in through the dog door. You know, we'd go to people's houses and break in and steal things, and we would go and take things from lots in people's yards and just pawn it in, you know. We went to a house close to my mom's house, and they had a generator outside. And we got the generator somehow into the back seat of my 99 Camry and took it to the pawn shop. And I still don't know how we did it, but we did it. And it was rough. And eventually that didn't work out because I got arrested in October of 2017 for possession of marijuana. That's all I had on me was weed. And so I went to jail. And I was only going to sit 2 or 3 weeks for it, but my roommate decided to bail me out. What I didn't know is it was a $50 to $100 bond, and he sold all of my electric stuff, my electronics, everything. He sold all my stuff to get my bond out when it was only $100. So he sold all my stuff and basically kept the money, stole it all from me. So I decided to pack up my stuff and move back in with my mom. I had a court date I was supposed to show up to after being bailed out, most likely get community service. I decided to skip that and get high. And now I'm about 8 months to a year into my addiction, and I'm about to have it on the screen. This was me in December of 2018. No, December of 2017. Yeah, this was me. And this is not 7 years of meth addiction, but just 7 years of consecutive drug use. And I'm not proud of that picture, and I know my family's not, but I'm proud of what that picture represents, because it represents what God has brought me from, what Jesus has saved me from. It gets worse. That was taken the day before I tried to commit suicide, which was December 26th or 27th. It was one of the days after Christmas. My brother came by to check on me. He found out that I was using meth, and I was tore up from the floor up in my addiction. And he told my mom, who was at the time in Disney with my little sister. She called me and said that I was gone. I was going to be kicked out. My family was going to have nothing to do with me anymore. And I was coming down withdrawing, so I had no money to get anymore. And I was like, I'm done. I'm done with life. I'm just gonna take it. I'm gonna end it. And when I was younger, I was given a .243 youth rifle for hunting, and it was always at the house. It was always in the closet. But for some reason, I couldn't find a bullet for it that night. I was searching and searching and searching and searching. I couldn't find a bullet for it. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I hear a knock at the door, and it's the police coming to get me for my warrant. My dad, through the grace of God, had called the police on me that night to save my life. And I thank him, and I thank God for that. I went and sat my time in jail. And it was at this time where God crept back into my life a little bit, because I was in jail. I slept off my high, and, the Gideons came by, and they were giving out little New Testament Bibles, and I picked it up, and I started reading, and I had remembered some of it, but I was kind of humoring myself. There was nothing else to do, so I was like, why not just read a little bit? And I sat my 2 weeks, got out, and called my mom. She's the first person I called, and I promised her, hey, I'm not going to go back to that. I'm not going to go back to that. I promise. I'm not. I found God. I'm good. Well, a month after I got out of jail, I started using again. This time it was worse than it was before. Every time that I stopped using drugs and tried to get off of them and get back on them, it was 10 times worse than it was before. It always was. It always ended up being 10 times worse. And so I didn't have any money. I didn't have a job. So again, I started stealing from my mom, who was saving up money for Christmas and vacation. But this time it wasn't $20 here and $30 here. It was $80, $100, $200. Over the course of me staying with my mom, me and her did the math. I've stolen probably around $3,000 from her in total for my addiction. And it's not good. It's not good. But it finally caught up to me because May of 2018, I got caught with possession of a controlled substance. I was caught with a little bit of meth. And so they locked me up, and I sat 3 or 4 months. No, I sat 2 months. Yeah, I sat 2 months because I was bonded out in July. But anyways, I was in Upshur County, and the first letter I received in Upshur County was from my grandpa, Wesley. He sent me a letter, and I read it, and it was just so awesome, the forgiveness in it, and just him still being there for me, even in my darkest times. And at the bottom, he always puts a verse at the bottom of every letter he writes, and it's Romans 8:18. And so I find my cellmate, I'm like, hey, give me your Bible, I gotta read what this says. And the verse states, "For I declare that our present sufferings are nothing compared to the glory that will be revealed in us." And at that time, I had no idea what that meant. I was like, how is there any glory in me? How is there anything good in me? How is there anything worthy of me? You know, there's nothing good about me. I'm a dirty drug addict. There's nothing for him, you know. And I had a lot of support. I had my family put money on my books, and Dad and Jamie, they sent me all kinds of books. They sent me books of they sent me a psychology book, because that's what I've been studying in college. They sent me a Bible. They sent me all kinds of books to read, and it was just awesome seeing that. And they bonded me out on 4th of July, 2018. And, man, I did good. I did pretty good getting out of jail for 2 or 3 months, you know. But in that 2 or 3 months, I had like 8 or 9 different jobs. You could ask Jamie about it. She helped me get every single one of them, and I messed every single one of them up. And back into it. I actually had a pretty decent job for 2 or 3 months at it's a feed store on 271. It used to be called Old Time Feed. I started working there. Really good people, real good Christians, and of course I was using that money to get back into my addiction, and they would buy me lunch every day and help me out. It was a good job, and I ruined it. But it was at this time that I was in my addiction, but I was to the point where I was sick of it. I was done. I was using, and I wasn't feeling nothing. I was tired of it. I wanted it to be over. I wanted my addiction to end, but I couldn't come to that conclusion on my own. And so one night, in a heated frenzy of yelling back and forth, Jamie finally pulled it out of me, what I was doing. And it was in November of 2018. And so we decided that I was going to go to rehab. But I wanted to spend Christmas with my family first. So I stayed sober for a month. I started going to Celebrate Recovery. And I remember a time, I went to Celebrate Recovery at Woodland Hills, and I remember driving back from Woodland Hills, and I just connected my phone and put on Spotify and played a Christian playlist. And I remember Casting Crowns coming on, and I don't even know if I knew the words or not, but I was just screaming my head off, just worshiping the Lord. And I hadn't done that in 7 years. At Christmas, I got a little bit of cash from I forgot who it was. It was from somebody. And it was a good Christmas. I got people really good spiritual gifts, and it was just a great time spent with my family. And a little bit of green in my hand, I decided to go out and use again. One last high before I go to rehab. And then I spent two days away from the house, just gone, off messing with women and drugs. And finally I came home and accepted the fact that it was time for change, and I hit my knees and I asked God to, find me a good rehab, a good one. And we had called places, we had called different places, but my grandpa, he used to preach a jail ministry with a guy named Roy Wiseman, and his son started a ministry called Wise Ministries, otherwise known as House of Disciples. And I called up there a couple weeks beforehand and asked if they had openings, if they had beds available. And the guy on the phone said, "Yeah, man, we're good." I said, "Okay, well, I want to spend Christmas with my family." He said, "We'll save it for you. We'll save you a bed. Just have a good Christmas and come by, December 28th." I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll do that." I went out and got high and came back, and I didn't sleep the night. I stayed up all night and called him back and told him what happened, and he was like, "You need to get here now." He said, "Come in. The longer you're out there, the longer that you're gonna have problems, so you just need to get here now." And so I checked into House of Disciples December 28th of 2018, and that was the last day that I touched a drug. The very last day. I have not touched it since then, but it wasn't an easy ride. House of Disciples it was nice to have a guide, but it was hard. It was so hard. I got there and I got comfortable, and I really started getting into my scripture at House of Disciples. I really liked it. I was about to be moved up into a leadership position because I was doing so good, always doing what I was told. And then out of nowhere, I get moved to this place called The Farm, and that's out in DeBerry. It's another part of the ministry. It's their main source of income because they're self-sufficient. They fund themselves. They don't have any government, any state help, because if the state helps a ministry like that, then they have the state has a right to say, "Oh, we want to change this, we want to change that," and we don't want you to force your religion on people, and that's not what that place was about. So I had to go to the farm, and I didn't want to, because I don't like change. I do not like change. You can ask anybody who knows me. I don't like it. I'm a creature of habit, and I was going to leave over it. And the guy in charge, his name was Clint, he talked me into staying 7 or 8 times within 2 days. And I was like, "Man, I'm about to leave." He's like, "Why?" He's like, "Because I'm uncomfortable." He said, "The times that you grow the most are the times where you're most uncomfortable." And I didn't understand that then, but I understand it now. You got to get out of your comfort zone to actually change. I mean, I'm doing it right now. I'm not comfortable up here at all. But, it's what's got to be done. So I went to them, and I was doing good out there too, because I really wanted to change. I was really trying for it. People would come into a place like that and just use them for food, for water, for shelter, and then it got a good temperature and they would leave, go back to the streets and do what they're doing. I was actually trying to get better. I was trying to get sober. And so they made me a leader called a resident leader. And what that is you help the program director keep everybody in line, keep things running smoothly. And I didn't understand why, because I'm a terrible decision maker. Cannot make a decision to save my life. You can ask Chris. He asked me where we want to eat. I don't care. I don't care. Anywhere's fine. Casa LA. No. but no, it was weird for me because I've never been a leader. I've always been a follower, and I guess I was a good leader because I moved up, and eventually, right around the 6th month mark, 6th or 7th month in the program, they moved me up to head RL, and they started having talks of me becoming the program director of House of Disciples in Longview. I filled out an application for it, and it was a dream of mine, to help other people get to where I'm at. It was right around this time, too, where I started to get stressed out, and I wanted to leave, and I wanted to go out and use again. And the day after I even had the first thought of leaving, I had a court date to appear to, and for that possession of a controlled substance a year before. And we went to the court, and I was put on 4 years probation, which I still have 3 left, but they mandated me to the program, so I couldn't leave. If I left, I was facing 2 years in state jail, so I decided not to leave. Yeah. I mean, look at me. I'm not going to survive in jail. I'm not. But no, it was all God. A big testament to my walk and to my sobriety was at 8 months you could have a 48-hour pass, and what that is you can leave the program for a whole weekend, go stay with your family, come back. Well, I did, and me always thinking about other people, I was searching my closet for clothes for some of the guys who were in there because it was getting colder. It was around August so it was going to get cold soon. I wanted to get some clothes for the guys. And as I was searching, I found a meth pipe with a bunch of meth in it. And for a split second, I thought, all I need is a lighter and I'm good to go. But I wrapped it back up, held it out as far away from myself as I could, and I went and found my mom and told her to take it to a dumpster. And it was right here. I had the devil in my hand, and I chose to let go of it. And that's a testament. That is when I knew I was serious about this. That is when I knew that this was what was meant for me. And so I graduated the program. I was in the same situation when I graduated. I was supposed to give my testimony, and I didn't do so good that time, but I did a little better this time. I graduated the program, and they moved me to House of Disciples in Longview, and I stayed there for December through July, so about 7 months. And it was a good ride. I enjoyed working there. Just the fact of seeing somebody come in and I'm not gonna this whole Christian thing, I'm just here because I'm trying to get a bed, I'm not gonna do it. And then you walk and they start reading the Bible and they start really getting into it and they start really understanding the scripture, and you see them slowly change. That is the closest I've ever been to being able to touch God, Seeing someone with this resentment and this hatred towards religion, and then all of a sudden they're 6 months into the program and they're a resident leader and they're doing everything they're supposed to, got their hands lifted in church, praising. It's just an amazing thing to see. And that's why I loved working there, was the impact I had on people's lives. People would try to leave, and I'd pull that card, the times you're most uncomfortable, the times you change the most, you got to stay here. And they would listen, and I would talk people into staying, and some of them wouldn't. Some of them would take off and come back and take off and come back, but I always had an open door for them. And that's probably why I had to part ways with House of Disciples, because they had guidelines and regulations that I didn't agree with. Someone comes in and they leave, there has to be a certain amount of time for them not being able to come back. Well, to me, that's not really fair, because people are dealing with issues. Jesus never turned away anybody for anything. And so I always had the door open. And my boss would come in and be like, hey, wasn't he here like 3 weeks ago? Yeah. He had 90 days until he could come back. I was like, yeah, I know. I had to let him in, because what if those 90 days was his death? Anything can happen. So I decided to do that. And in July, they decided I was not suited for this position, and they wanted to move me back to the farm to swing a hammer. I was like, no, that's not what I'm about. I'm go out there and swing a hammer for you guys. I think it's time for me to take my ministry somewhere else. And so, once again, I moved back in with my mom, but this time it's all good. I'm still there. I'm living there now with my sister, my mom, and my brother, and they're a huge blessing to me. My whole family has been a huge blessing to me through this whole thing. Getting out of the House of Disciples, the first thing that came to my mind was, I need a job. I need a job. I need a job. I don't have a car. I don't have anything. I had to rebuild my whole life from nothing because I don't have anything. I sold it all. I got rid of it all. You know, the only thing I have is my family, so I got to figure something out. And the next Sunday at church, Chris Bohannon walks up to me and says, I hear you're looking for work. He's like, I'm going to come pick you up in the morning. And he has been a huge, huge blessing in my life. Probably one of the biggest blessings to ever happen to me. He comes and picks me up for work every day. And we go and we work and we talk about God and we sing and we praise God as we're working. And it is just the best job I've ever had. God has just worked so many miracles in my life, and I don't know where to start to how to thank him except for my story and just give him praise all the day long. You know, I can't stop being thankful for what God has done for me, for what my family's done for me, for what Chris has done for me, and it's just amazing the amount of change that has come into my life in the past 3 years. As of today, I am almost 2 years sober from drugs. I am I am 3 months sober from nicotine. That was tough. That was the toughest thing I've ever done. You can ask my dad. I'd buy a vape and I'm done with it. Throw it away. 2 weeks later, I need a vape. I need a dip. You know. I need a dip. No, I got rid of it all. I decided that it's not healthy, and my body's supposed to be a temple, so I got to make it a temple. And I just don't think it would look good if I go trying to talk to somebody about Jesus. You gotta trust in the Lord. I don't think it would look right. So I decided to get rid of it, and I've come to find out that if you try to get rid of your problems on your own, that more problems end up showing up. You know, you get rid of one thing, you're like, yeah, that's off my back, and you got 3 other things sitting on there. But if you prioritize focusing your life and your relationship with Jesus Christ, everything just falls off. He takes everything from you, and it is just the best feeling. All the weight lifted off your shoulders. I gave tonight to God because I walked up in here like this, stiff as a board. I didn't want it. I was gonna back out of this. I was, but last Wednesday I decided to come and attend church service, and Ben's service was just so good. He talked about how everybody had a calling and God had a divine purpose for everybody. He doesn't waste anything. And that was the day I was thinking about, not coming here and doing this. I'm going to back out. It's still a week before it happens. I'm going to back out. They can get somebody else to do it. And I decided not to. And, man, I'm glad I didn't. Because I thought I was going to mess this up, I think I've done pretty good so far. Honestly, that's all I got. But I just want to... Oh, yeah, I forgot about the other picture, yeah. This is me now, after losing my trust with my family and losing everything in my life that was good. I've got it all back and then some. You know, God is a God of restoration, for sure. And man, I'm so thankful. I think I'm gonna end on that because I'm just gonna ramble on and on. But thank you all for listening, and I appreciate y'all letting me do this.